Before we start, I want you to imagine something. Imagine standing on a quiet Bali beach in the early 2000s. No resorts, no crowds, no overdevelopment. Land was cheap. Infrastructure was just starting. Only a few surfers, a few risk takers, and a handful of people who had the vision to say, something big is coming here. Fast forward 20 years, Bali became one of the most valuable island markets in the world. And the people who bought early, sometimes with just 50 to 80K euro, ended up owning assets that multiplied 10 times, 20 times, even 50 times. That exact patterns, the same energy, same early indicators, same investor behavior is happening again today, but not in Bali. It's happening on Rote Island. Let me give you the simplest explanation. Buying land in Bali today is like entering a Monopoly game where 30 rounds have already been played. Everything is taken. Prices are insane. Beachfront, forget it. Now compare that to Rote, where only 2 to 3 rounds have been played. There are still opportunities everywhere. Cheap beachfront, ocean view, and untouched. And then and in the next 45 minutes, I'll show you why early movers on Rote are entering at the perfect time and how some are already turning 80 to 150,000 euros into cash, flowing beachfront villas with 3 to 4 year payback. But you can already start from 10,000 euros. If you ever felt like you missed Bali, this presentation will show you the place where the next wave is forming. Now, before we go deeper, I want to be clear about who will get the most value from today. This is for you if you love Bali but feel like you arrived too late for the explosive returns. You're an expat investor or lifestyle buyer looking for high ROI from rentals or land appreciation. You want the next Canggu or Seminyak, a place where the early community is forming but prices are still accessible. And especially if you want to go where policymakers and CEOs are putting their money next. This is not for you if you want to flip in 6 months. That's not the phase Rote is in right now. You feel uncomfortable entering early stage markets with massive upside. Or if you want 100% passive investment without doing basic due diligence. If you're still here and thinking, yes, that sounds like me, then this presentation will fit you perfectly. By the end, you'll know exactly whether Rote is the right move for you and whether you should take action before the next wave buyers arrives. Here's what we're going to cover today, and I want you to listen for patterns. First, you'll see how Bali price curve is repeating itself on Rote, almost detail by detail. The early surf community, the infrastructure push, the government investment, all identical. Second, we'll look at the airport expansion plans and infrastructure upgrades that historically create value explosions on islands. Third, you'll see why policymakers, ex-presidents, and major CEOs are quietly buying large land tracts right now before tourism grows. Fourth, I'll show you the Airbnb math, how low competition and high nightly rates in places like Nimbrala make 3 to 4 year payback realistic. Fifth, we'll cover safe legal ownership structures. No more risk, no more gray zone. Six, you'll see real resale stories and what an exit looks like. And finally, we'll cover how to invest completely hands-free from wherever you live. So by the end of today, you'll have a clear data-driven view of whatever Rote is the next Bali, and whatever now is the right time to secure your position. Before we move into the data, I want you to picture what this could realistically mean for you. Imagine owning a villa on a quiet island, built, managed, and rented for you. That pays for itself in the first 3 to 4 years. Imagine waking up surfing in the mornings and knowing that while you're traveling or working or spending time with family, your villa is generating consistent income. Imagine being early for once. entering before mass tourism arrives, before global brands build resorts, before prices climb the way they did in Bali. This is not just a financial investment, it's lifestyle upgrade. It's a chance to plant a flag before the world discover the islands. And today you're going to see exactly how people are doing this and how you can do the same safely and strategically. Before we continue, I want to flag something important. For those of you who stay until the end, we'll show you how to get our investing in Indonesia island checklist for free. This checklist is critical because most mistakes in island investing don't happen the buying stage. They happen before, when people don't know what to check. This document is the exact checklist we've refined over years, together with experienced property agents, investors, and our mentors. Every point inside comes from hard-learned lesson, delays, legal issues, zoning problems, and costly mistakes we've seen others make. It shows you what to verify before you commit. Land certificate, zoning, foreign ownership, structure, and realistic ROI, so you don't learn the hard way later. Think of it as browsing years of experience to protect your time, money, and peace of mind. We'll explain how to get it for free at the end, so make sure you stay with us. Before we go deeper into the investment side, let me quickly introduce myself and why I'm so passionate about Rote. I've been involved with island development for years, but my connection goes back much further. I first came to Rote when I was 16, back when beachfront land was literally $2 per square meter. It was empty, untouched, and honestly, nobody believed it would become anything. Over time, I watched these Indonesian island transforms. I saw how Bali went from small surf shacks to the global luxury hub it is today. And I saw this exact same sign showing up on Rote. The early surf community, the new roads, government attention, the airport upgrades. I've worked with investors, builders, resort owners, and locals for years. And my goal is simple, to help people avoid the mistake I made, recognizing the opportunity too late. I want to share a quick story because it shaped how I invest today. When I first saw land in Rote, I hesitated. I thought it's too early, I'll wait. By the time I acted, prices had already jumped 5 times to 10 times. I bought at around $9 per square meter and sold in less than a year, $34 per square meter. The moment shocked me, and it taught me something important. Early stage island market moved fast, quietly at first, then all at once. When infrastructure comes, when surfers starts arriving, when CEO starts buying land, growth doesn't happen slowly, it compounds. And I made a promise that day. Never again will I hesitate when all the indicators are aligned. That's why I'm here today, to show you the signs I ignored the first time. Now, let me simplify something that confuses most foreign investors. In Bali, the old way looked like this. You couldn't truly own land as a foreigner. You had a nominee structure that were risky and technically illegal. You need to pay everything in cash. And because prices were already high, ROI was slow. There are 3 ways to own land in Indonesia: freehold or hak milik. Only Indonesian can hold it. Foreigners often use a nominee or close friends or a partner. Works, but requires trust. Leasehold or hak sewa, easiest, 25 to 30 years, extendable, full control. PT PMA, foreign-owned company, strongest method. You can legally own the land under HGB, best for building villas, resorts, glamping, surf camps, easiest for scaling and making money. Entry prices are far lower than Bali today. The market is early, which means upside is high, and because there are so few quality villas, Airbnb returns are extremely strong. ROI here is insane compared to Bali. You're not fighting 200 competitors, you're fighting maybe 5. So while Bali is mature and expensive, Rote is at the beginning of the curve, where growth is fast, demand is rising, and smart investors position themselves early. And that's exactly why today's presentation matters. When you study fast-growing islands, the same pattern appears again and again. Let's look at Bali in the early 2000s. First came the surfer. They always arrived before everyone else. Then came the adventurous expats. Then infrastructure, paved roads, power upgrades, new ports, airport expansion. Then prices start rising quietly. And only much later, the global brands, resorts, and major investor came in. Rote today is at the exact same early phase as Bali was 2 decades ago. We already have the surf community. We already have the early foreigners quietly buying land. We already have the infrastructure being upgraded, not discussed, but actually happening. And prices are still at the I wish I had bought Bali early level. You can literally overlay Bali curves from the 2000 onto Rote curves today, and the pattern is almost identical. This is why early moves are entering now, not in 5 years when it becomes expensive. Let me show you a real example from my own experience. I bought land in Rote around $9 per square meter at the time. It felt like, okay, maybe this place will grow someday, but it's still early. Less than 1 year later, I sold it at $34 per square meter. Now, I want you to understand something important. This wasn't because I found a lucky buyer. This wasn't speculation or hype. It happened because roads were being expanded, the airport upgrade was confirmed, and early tourism numbers increased. Infrastructure is what moves land value, not emotions. And the same thing happened to early expats in Bali. Most people don't realize this, but many early Bali investors made their profits before any of the major hotel existed. Rote is in that early window right now. Let's look at what's already in place because infrastructure is what drives value. Rote Island has one main airport, David Constanji Saudale Airport, located near Ba'a, about 45 minutes from Nembrala. This is the island's active entry point and the foundation for growing tourism access. For sea travel, Ba'a Port is the main ferry terminal, connecting Rote to Kupang and supporting regular movement of people and goods. On top of that, PT Boa Development has already invested around 250 billion rupiah into Rote. This isn't speculation. It's real capital committed on the ground. For land buyers, this matters because infrastructure and capital comes first, and land value historically will follow. Getting in early means positioning before demand accelerates. This part matters because it shows who is committing real capital in Rote. Nihi Hotel is consistently ranked among the world's top luxury hotels, an ultra-luxury brand with global elite guests, and proven history of creating premium destination. Nihi is working with PT Boa Development, which has already invested around 250 billion rupiah in Rote. This isn't marketing or speculation. It's long-term capital and infrastructure commitment. Why does this matter for land buyers? When a world-class luxury brand enters this early, it typically brings higher spending tourism, increased visibility, and stronger demand for quality accommodation nearby. Historically, these are early luxury entries, have been correlated with rising land values over time, especially when supported by infrastructure growth. The takeaway is simple. When a world top luxury brand deploys capital before the hype, it's not coincidence, it's conviction. Let's look at recent news and investor moves because this shows whether real capital is actually committing. We're seeing hundreds, billions rupiah projects already deployed, not speculation, but funded development. These projects have presidential level backing, which significantly lowers policy risk and signal national priority. At the same time, jumbo scale accelerate investors are entering institutional player focus on long-term export-driven businesses with revenue in foreign currency. What's important is that replication model has already been approved, meaning successful projects here are planned, scale across eastern Indonesia. For investors, this is combination, real capital, government support, institutional entry, and global demand is exactly what you want to see in early stage region before values fully adjust. One of the most reliable signals in emerging market is this. Follow where policymakers and CEOs are buying land. Before Bali exploded, it wasn't tourists who bought first, it was government families, ex-ministers, and early tech founders. The same thing is happening in Rote right now. Several influential Indonesian leaders have already secured large tracts of land long before public hears about major infrastructure changes. Why does this matter? Because people at this level see what most investors cannot. They see upcoming zoning shift, they see planned infrastructure before it's officially announced. They know where government investment will follow in the next 5 to 10 years. In 2021, even the founder of Gojek, one of Indonesia's largest tech success stories, bought significant land holdings. These kind of moves don't happen randomly. When policymakers and CEOs enter quietly, it's a strong sign that the window for affordable entry is narrowing. Let's talk about the financial side because this is one of the biggest reasons people are buying early in Rote. Rote is still in the early stage of tourism, which means demand is rising fast, while the number of quality villas is extremely low. And when demand is high but supply is limited, occupancy and nightly rates stay strong. Right now, well-designed villas on Rote typically rent anywhere from 100 to 225 euros per night, depending on the seasons and how close they are to the surf breaks, like Nimbrala. During the main surf season, which attracts travelers from all over the world, especially Australia, it's common to see 70 to 80% occupancy. And even outside the main season, long-term stays from digital nomad, divers, kite surfers, and remote workers keep occupancy healthy. When you average everything out across the year, you get a very solid 60 to 70% occupancy rate overall. Now, let me put this into simple terms. A mid-range villa renting at around 120 euros per night can easily generate a strong five-figure income each year. A premium villa renting at around 160 euros per night can bring in significantly more, especially if it has private pool or ocean views. These are real-world numbers based on a current booking. And here's where it gets exciting. Modern villas in Rote can still be built for around 80 to 150,000 euros, depending on designs. When you compare that build cost with the kind of rental income I just mentioned, many investors are seeing their entire investment paid back in 3 to 4 years, sometimes even faster with a premium design. This level of ROI is almost impossible in Bali today. Bali is crowded. There are thousands of villas competing on price. Occupancy is harder to maintain, and returns are nowhere near early stage levels anymore. Rote is the opposite. There is scarcity, there is premium demand, and there is very little competition. And this combination, high nightly rates, strong occupancy, and low villa supply, is exactly what creates the powerful early investor returns you only get during the first phase of a growing island market. To show you that these numbers are not just theory, let's look at what is actually happening on Airbnb right now. When you search for villas on Rote, especially around Nimbrala, you'll notice something immediately. There are very few modern villas available, and the ones that are built to a proper standards are booked out very consistently. If you look at the calendars of these listings, many of them are blocked out for long stretches during surf seasons, not just a few days here and there, but the entire weeks and months fully booked. Surfer book far in advance, and because options are so limited, they often take whatever availability they can find. Even basic villas, simple design, older interiors are performing incredibly well, which tell us something important: the market is hungry for quality. Another thing you'll notice is the pricing. These villas are confidently listed at 100 to 150, even over 200 euros per night. And guests are paying those prices because the experience on Rote is unique. Quiet beaches, uncrowded surf, natural beauty, and far fewer tourists than Bali. This is the key difference compared to more developed islands. In Bali, you're competing with thousands of villas. On Rote, a new villa instantly becomes one of the top choices on the island. So, when we talk about high occupancy, high nightly rates, and strong returns, it's not speculation, it's what the market is already showing. And with such limited supply, every new villa that comes onto the island gets attention, gets booking, and gets traction very quickly. One of the biggest concerns people have when investing in Indonesia, especially if they're heard stories from Bali, is legal safety. And the good news is Rote operates under the same modern legal framework that Bali uses today, but without the old nominee risk that many people got caught in years ago. Here's the simple version. Foreigners can safely and legally own property throughout a structure called PT-PMA. This is a foreign-owned company that allows you to hold what's known as hak guna bangunan, which is legally protected building and land use right under your company. This is not a workaround. This is not a gray zone. This is the official government-approved method for foreign ownership. What this means is your name is on the legal documents. You have full resale rights. You can rent out your property through Airbnb or long-term rentals, completely legal. Now, I want to show you something that comes from official government data, not marketing. According to the Investment Realization Report for Rotendao in 2023, around 280 billion rupiah has already been invested in a single year. This is real capital deployed, not projections or speculation, and it's formally reported by the government. What's important is that this investment spans multiple sectors, including tourism, aquaculture, and infrastructure, which signals balanced long-term development rather than a single hype-driven project. In early stage market like this, capital inflows always leads land prices. Land values typically lag behind investment activity, especially before major projects are completed. So when institution investor commit at this level early, it's a strong signal of confidence. And historically, this is when land benefits first before prices fully adjust. One of the smartest thing you can look at investor is not just how you enter a market, but how you can exit it. And Rote has very healthy liquidity path forming. There are three major buyer groups emerging right now: expats and digital nomads looking for long-term island home, eco resorts, developers buying plots or existing villas to expand, boutique hotel brands entering the early stage of scouting land. As infrastructure grows, access improves, and tourism numbers rise, the pool of buyers naturally increases. And because early stage markets have limited high quality inventory, good villas and well located land tend to sell quickly, especially when titles are clean and ownership is through a PT-PMA. The simple message is this: if you ever decide to sell, you are not selling into a cold market. You are selling into a market that is getting warmer every year. Let me give you a real example to show how this plays out in practice. One of the early foreign investors purchased land on Rote, held it for just a few years, and then resold it to a digital nomad entrepreneur who wanted to build a surf-focused retreat. The resale process was smooth because the land title was clean, the PT-PMA structure was in place, and demand for good plots had already increased. What's interesting is that the buyer wasn't from the tourism sector. She was simply someone who recognized that Rote was becoming the next Bali-style destination. And here's the bigger picture. As road expand, as airport improves, and resorts begin entering the market, your villa or land becomes more valuable simply because access gets easier. This is why early investors tend to make the strongest gains both from rental income and from exit value. So, whether you want to hold long term, build a villa, or eventually resell for profit, you have multiple clear exit strategies already forming. One of the biggest misconceptions about Rote is the idea that it's only busy during surf season. Surfing is definitely the main magnet, and during those months, villas get booked out months in advance. But what many people don't realize is that Rote has now developed into a year-round destination with several types of travelers coming in waves. Outside the main surf, the island becomes a hub for kite surfers, especially in areas where the wind and the tide conditions are perfect during the opposite season. So one group leaves, another group arrives. Then we have the activity-based travelers, people who come for snorkeling, diving, island hopping, paddleboarding, yoga, and just peaceful, uncrowded beaches. These guests aren't tied to any specific season. They travel whenever flights are affordable and weather is warm, which in Rote is almost all year round. And the third group that's growing really fast is digital nomads and long stay remote workers. These guests stay anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months. What they want is quiet beaches, stable internet, privacy, and a relaxed environment, which Rote delivers perfectly. This crowd brings in consistent of season occupancy because they actively avoid Bali's crowds and noise. So instead of thinking of Rote as having a single season, think of it as a having multiple micro season driven by different audiences. Surf season, kite season, wellness groups, family nomads, each group fills a different part of the calendar. This is why villas in Rote maintain strong occupancy across the whole year, not just during one peak window. Before people invest in a new location, there's one question that always comes up. Is it safe? So instead of opinions, let's look at actual numbers. On this table, you can see a comparison between Rotendao, Bali, Lombok, and Jakarta. Rote has a population of around 153,000 people, and the total recorded crimes per year are roughly 145. That works out to about 0.9 crimes per 1,000 people. Now compare that to Badung in Bali, which is the main tourist area, around 8 crimes per 1,000. Bali as a whole is about 2.3. Lombok at around 1.7 and Jakarta over 5. What this tells us is not that the crime doesn't exist. Every place has its own crime, but that Rote is statistically far quieter and safer than major tourist hubs. And you feel this when you're there. Rote is a close-knit community, low conflict, clear land process, and very few issues involving visitors. For investors, safety supports livability and rental demand. Rote today feels like Bali years ago, calm, low density, and comfortable long term. One of the biggest fears people have is, how do I manage a villa on an island if I'm living in Singapore, Europe, or Australia? The answer is simple. You don't. We do. Our team handles everything from permits and constructions all the way to furnishing, listing, guest check-ins, cleaning, maintenance, and monthly reporting. You're investing in assets, not a job. The management system is built so that your villa runs like a complete turnkey business. Professional photos and listings, dynamic pricing, guest communication, housekeepings, repairs and maintenance, monthly income, reports sent directly to you. Your only role is receiving your income and approving occasional decisions. So whether you're living full-time abroad or traveling, your villa continues to generate cash flow without you being physically present. Before buying land, there are three things that matter more than anything else. First is paperwork. This is non-negotiable. You need to verify that the land certificate is legitimate, that there are no duplicate certificates, and that the zoning actually allows for construction. This step protects you from 90% of the problems people hear about, and it's why proper due diligence is critical. Second is growth potential. You want to understand what the government is planning. where infrastructure is being built, and where investors are already moving. Tourism doesn't grow evenly across an island. It concentrates in specific area. Buying in the right zone matters far more than buying early in the wrong one. Third is construction and management. Land is only valuable if you can execute. That means having access to reliable contractors, realistic build timelines, a professional villa management, and once the property is live, this is what turns land into an income producing asset instead of a headache. When these three areas are handled properly, paperwork, growth, and execution, land investing becomes structured, predictable, and significantly lower risk. Now, it's equally important to understand what happens if you get this wrong. Let's start with the paperwork. If the land certificate is not legitimate or if ownership is not clean, you don't just lose money, you risk losing the land or the villa entirely. If there are duplicate certificates that often leads to lengthy court battles, these cases can drag on for years, and in many situations, buyers still end up losing the land or being unable to use it. Zoning is another common mistake. Owning land does not automatically mean you are allowed to build on it. If the zoning does not permit construction, the land becomes a dead asset. No villa, no rental income, no exit. Then there's construction risk. Unreliable contractors lead to delays, unfinished projects, or poor quality finishes that require expensive rework. Many so-called turnkey solutions are not truly hands-off, meaning you still need to be on the ground dealing with issue, repairs, and management. And finally, location buying. Buying in the wrong area means slow growth, limited infrastructure, and weak bookings. Even a well-built villa struggles if demand never arrives. The risks are real, and they are exactly why getting fundamentals right from the start matters so much. Before we move into the final part, let's quickly recap what you've learned so far. Everything is crystal clear. We saw how Bali early growth pattern is repeating itself almost identically on Rote, from the surf culture to the early expats, to the infrastructure push, and finally the government attention. We looked at the ROI math, where a well-built villa can realistically achieve a 3 to 4 year payback because of strong nightly rates and very limited competition. We've covered legal safety, where foreigners can fully own land and villas through a PT PMA with resale rights and clean documents. We talk about exit liquidity, showing you that there is growing buyer pool and successful resale cases already happening. And finally, you saw how the villa can be completely hands-free, so you can invest without needing to manage anything yourself. So everything you need, growth, ROI, legal clarity, resale, and management is already in place. Did you get value so far? If yes, just give me a quick nod or type yes in the chat so I know you're still with me. Because at this point, you might be thinking, okay, this all makes sense. I understand the opportunity, but what should I do next? How do I explore this properly? Where do I get the right guidance? And that is a great question because information alone is not enough. What you need is clarity about your situation, your budget, your goals, your timeline, and what type of Rote investment actually fits you. So, with your permission, in the next part, I'd love to share how we can help. You do exactly that safely, step by step, and with the same framework that early investors are using right now. Is it okay if I take a minute to show you how to move forward and catch this next Bali wave? So, at this point, if you're feeling like Rote might be the right opportunity and you want to explore it properly, the best next step is to book a private Rote investment discovery call. This is a calm, structured conversation where we look at your goals, your budget, and the kind of investment you're planning for, whether it's land banking, a villa, or a long-term second home. By the end of the call, you'll have a clear understanding of what's realistic for you, what type of property fits your strategy, and how to move forward safely. It's simply the easiest way to get clarity before making any decision. Click the link below to set your appointment. Here's how the process works step by step. It starts with the discovery call, where we get clear on your goals, whether that's land banking, villa or hotel, cash flow, and whether you want to be hands-on or hands-off. From there, we match you to the right projects. We shortlist specific plots, builds, or resort shares that fit your objectives, timelines, and risk profile instead of showing you everything. Next is the site visit. You travel with us to Rote to review the land, paperwork, and surrounding infrastructure on the ground. So you're making decisions based on facts, not assumption. Finally, ownership. You become the owner of the land, a villa, or resort share with a full legal support in place. Simple structure and design for entering an early stage market properly. Let me give you a sense of what the call actually feels like. It's not a pitch, it's a guided consultation. We start by understanding your goals. Then we look at real options, real land, real villas, real numbers. We go over timelines, legal structure, expected returns, and what to avoid as a foreign investor. It is very open conversation. If Rote is right for you, you'll know. If it's not the right fit yet, you'll know that too. And you'll still walk away with a clear roadmap. Click the link below to set your appointment. Why book the call now? Because the window we're in right now, early pricing, early development, and low competition doesn't stay open forever. Land at 20 million per acre range is being reserved faster than people expect. And historically, once airport expansion reach at a certain phase, prices jump. We saw this in Bali, in Lombok, and several other islands. We also keep the number of calls limited each week so we can give every investor proper attention. If you're considering investing this year or next year, this is the moment to understand the market properly. As a thank you for taking the time to explore Rote today, everyone who books a call gets instant access to our Investing in Indonesia Island checklist. This is practical, step-by-step guide covering legal safety, due diligence, common mistakes to avoid, ROI evaluation, and the exact process foreigners must follow. Most investors tell us that they wish they had this before they entered Bali years ago. Booking your call is very simple. Just click the calendar link below, choose a time that fits your schedule, answer a short form so we can prepare, and you'll receive confirmation instantly, along with your bonus checklist. We'll review your form before the call, so the session is personalized from the first minute. If what you've heard from today makes sense and you're thinking, I want to explore this properly, I want clarity, I want to see if this is the right move for me, then booking the discovery call is the most logical next step. It's a safe space to ask questions and understand whether this opportunity matches your goal. Click the link below to set your appointment. Now I will be addressing few of the most frequently asked questions. What is the minimum investment to get started? The minimum entry starts from around 10,000 euro for early stage land exposure or fractional participation. For investors looking to own land or fully built villa, most projects typically range between 80,000 euros to 150,000 euros, depending on location, size, and whether you're buying land only or turnkey villa. On the discovery call, we'll match option based on your budget, risk tolerance, and timeline. There's no one size fits all. Do I need to do a site visit first? A site visit is highly recommended, but not mandatory. Many investors first secure land or a project remotely after proper due diligence, documentation review, and video walkthroughs. That said, if you want maximum confidence, the site visit allows you to inspect land titles and zoning, see if infrastructure progress firsthand, meet the local legal and build team. You can invest first, then visit later, or visit first, then decide. Do I need to come to Rote for paperwork and legal process? No. All legal structuring, PTPMA setup, land acquisition, and permits can be handled remotely through power of attorney. You only need to be physically present if you want to, not because you have to. This is designed for international investors who live in Europe, Australia, Singapore, or elsewhere. Can I buy the land now and build the villa later? Yes, and many smart investors do exactly this. You can land bank now at early stage pricing, hold while infrastructure develops, build when timing, budget, or market conditions are optimal. This strategy allows you to lock in location and upside early while keeping flexibility on construction. How much is the down payment for land or villas? For land purchases, it's typically full payment or a short milestone-based structure. For villas or build projects, down payments usually range from 20 to 40%, with the rest paid in construction milestones. Not upfront, this protects your capital, aligns incentive, and reduces risk. If you still have questions at this point, that's completely normal. Every investor situation is different. Different budget, different timeline, different goals, and that's exactly why the next step is to buy something. It's to have a private discovery call. On the call, we look at your numbers, not generic examples. We will walk through clear structure, what makes sense and what doesn't. And you leave with a clear next step, whether you move forward now or later. There's no pressure on the call. Even if you decide not to proceed, you'll still walk away with clarity. So, if Rote feels interesting and you want to explore it properly, let's look at what actually makes sense for you.